Welcome to Under Pressure, the podcast about becoming better men when it counts. I'm Cody Laughlin.
And I'm Brian Alfaro. Each week, we have honest conversations about building businesses, leading families, carrying responsibility, and the pressure that comes with trying to do all of it well. If that sounds like your world, you're in the right place.
No hype, no pretending we've got it all figured out, just real stories, real struggles, and what we're learning along the way. Let's get into it. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Cody?
Ready for round two?
Always ready for round two.
Always, man. Last week was fun, man. It was good.
Yeah, no, great episode. It's nice to I feel like we still got the training wheels on a little bit, a little rusty, but it'll come back to us.
It's like riding a bike, man. You know,
it is like riding a bike.
a couple times, but it's muscle memory.
It is muscle memory, but it was a lot of fun. Good feedback from the listeners. So excited to be back again.
I agree, man. I agree. Yeah, it's fun. And we left the show, and you know, every time we talk, like we just start rambling and just kind of coming up with all these different, brainstorming ideas and such. And so we've had a lot of good conversation in between, then and now. So, what's kind of top of mind for you today as far as, what's going on and what do you think is relevant?
We were talking about a lot of stuff. You and I are always sharing stories in the car, and, entrepreneurship is something that I've had a lot of conversations with some friends lately about, especially the pressure you feel as an entrepreneur, right? Obviously, both of us kind of similar age range, but different people go through different things at different ages. But the pressures you feel as an entrepreneur, I feel like not enough people talk about that, right? Entrepreneurship, specifically, especially in our society, in America and everywhere else, is kind of glamorized. It's the sexy thing to do. Quit your job, be an entrepreneur, start a business. Now, a lot of people are talking about buying a business, which is, a whole other topic for another day. But nobody talks about how hard it is and the struggles you go through, not necessarily managing the business, specifically the pressures you feel as a man, the pressures you feel in that particular seat, that being in that hot seat, no matter how big or small your business is something I think not enough people talk about.
I agree, man. And we've seen this over the years in different aspects of things that we've done. And you're so right. How many people do you see that have read the book or heard the podcast, went to the conference, and they got inspired by the success stories, and then they get started, and then a year later, they're out. Yeah. They're like, because you're right. Like nobody wants to talk about the challenges of getting to that level of success and making it as an entrepreneur. Because the reality is if people were truthful about the struggles they go through or the challenges they go through, a lot of people would just say, man, I'm gonna opt out on that.
Right. And the thing that's unfortunate too, and it's kind of funny when you think about it, is, everything that we see online, Instagram, TikTok, is glamorizes and it's kind of curated in some degree, right? You see all these successful entrepreneurs and people that sold a company, started a company, whatever, but they don't often talk about, and I've seen a lot of this stuff, more stuff like this come into light lately, is the uncertainty you feel, the pressure you feel from making decisions every day, and how that can impact your marriage at home, the four walls in your house, how it can impact you as a parent, and how it can ultimately impact your family. I don't think enough people talk about that. There's we talked about this, I think, a little bit last time. There's an opportunity cost to being an entrepreneur, financially, emotionally, physically in your life, but there's other costs that come along the way that just don't get talked about enough.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I think I hate social media for this reason, right? That's the barometer people use to kind of compare themselves to. It's a measuring stick.
Yep.
But in reality, again, a lot of that stuff is just a facade. It's like you said last week, it's the iceberg model where you only see this top, little tip, but you don't see all of the things behind the scenes or what has transpired. And like you said, it's the least sexiest part of that journey and that story, because you don't want to scare people away. Like, we don't want to deter people. Like, we want to actually inspire people and encourage people to chase their dreams and take that bold step into getting out of your comfort zone and whatnot. That's part of why we're here today, is talk about how to deal with those issues. But at the same time, with that comes a lot of doubt,
right?
Comes a lot of uncertainty, and that makes people uncomfortable.
Sure.
Not everybody's ready to deal with that doubt and uncertainty and such. But it needs to be discussed more openly. And I think 2025 being such a rough year for many people, and the last few years, whether it be economically, financially, the last few years have been rough for a lot of people. now is the time to kind of share those stories and kind of share
Right.
because nobody seems to be shouting out the hoorahs and singing all the praising and stories and stuff like that.
Yep. There's a tremendous amount of doubt that comes into being an entrepreneur, right? So when you're thinking about starting a business or buying a business, you're often talking yourself out of it. And the reality is most people around you are probably trying to talk you out of it. Like, that's a bad idea. Why would you invest in that? Why would you do that? You're going to lose money. Of course, those are all potential opportunities, but you have a lot of doubt starting it, and then you do it, or you start it, or you buy that business, and then every single day, almost all day, you're faced with just moment after moment after moment of doubt.
Mm.
Did I make the right decision? Did I hire the right vendor? Did I hire the right employee? Did I pay the right bill? My cash is limited. Who am I paying? There's so many decisions that you make throughout the day, and you often get decision fatigue. That doubt comes with a weight.
Mhm.
It has, to use our show, it puts you under pressure. You know, that doubt that you feel constantly making decisions, not knowing often for years or months or weeks the impact of the decision you made. One bad hire can set your company off the rails for weeks, months, years, even sometimes, right? If you're going a certain way or you have a certain amount of momentum, that doubt puts a tremendous amount of pressure on you. And I think that's the thing a lot of successful people or people that are getting into entrepreneurship don't always think about or talk about, right? Because a lot of people that are getting into entrepreneurship, and you're seeing this a lot right now in like the entrepreneurship through acquisition, the ETA model, or the SMB, small business model. Don't start a business, go buy a business. There's a lot of momentum around that right now. Is a lot of people in that are in that bucket are usually, often from my experience, pretty successful corporate employees, right? They have a little bit of money saved up, whether it's in their retirement account or they've been successful investing, and they're in their sort of late 40s, early 50s, starting to realize maybe that they want to do their own thing. They're kind of maybe tired of corporate America. Not that it's bad, but they want to do their own thing, and they've been successful managers and leaders at a big company level, but they've never felt the pressure or the uncertainty that you feel as an entrepreneur and the doubt you feel along the way until they get there,
Yeah. Well,
right?
like, cause you've lived this life of comfort for so long,
Yeah,
right? You're so used to a routine. You're so used to doing things a certain way for so long that you start getting out of that comfort zone. And that's where a lot of that doubt creeps in. And, it is a real pressure. It is a real stressor for a lot of people. And if you're not prepared for it, or if you're not mentally tough enough to deal with it, it will impact you mentally, physically. It'll impact your business or whatever it is that you're doing. But I think the thing with doubt is, especially in entrepreneurship, it's inevitable. You're not going to get away from it. I
yep,
mean, every decision I have ever made and any of the things that I've done, business or investing, I've always doubted. And in the moment, it's a stress. You question a lot of things. You start going through all of the, well, what if this happens? Well, what if that happens? But ultimately, you take that leap of faith and you move forward and hopefully things work out. Sometimes it doesn't. But through that journey, through facing that doubt, it's really kind of understanding, where is the doubt coming from?
mm,
Is it, again, number one, just getting out of the comfort zone? Two, is it lack of education, lack of preparation? There are going to be things that you just don't know until you get into things. I mean, you and I've talked about this a lot. Like, our lessons learned from our journey has come from being in the game,
yep.
like throwing ourselves in there and getting in the game and such. Those are some of the best lessons you can learn. But um ultimately, again, trying to understand where is that doubt coming from will help. It helped me try to figure out how to manage it. If it's a lack of preparation, great. Well, I need to go dive into this. And if I don't know what this is, I need to understand it fully.
Right.
So I'm going to commit fully into going in and understanding this until I know at least enough to make me feel more comfortable with the decision we've made and such. And so, but I mean, it's different for everybody. I think everybody's experience is a little bit unique,
Yep.
but it's a real pressure. And if you're not mentally tough enough to deal with it, it can really negatively impact you for sure.
Fear of failure is another one that often gives us a lot of doubt, right? We might have the education, we might have the mentorship, we might have some money saved up, so we're not necessarily financially at risk. But a lot of us too have never really felt that failure before. We grew up, maybe we were well educated, we went to college, we graduated, your parents are giving you all the praises for getting your college degree. You go out, you get a job in corporate America, you climb the ladder, you do all the things you're supposed to do, and everyone's just kind of patting you on the back along the way. And as society, it's hard to argue that we haven't just generationally gotten softer from generation to generation, right? You think about our parents back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and how much harder just life was in general. It was harder to survive, harder to do pretty much everything. There's a lot of things today that are way easier, I would argue, but life in general was harder. They didn't have access to the same amenities and luxuries that we have today that sort of make us more comfortable, right? And that has generationally made us softer. So there's been less failure, and that comfort level of failure can often lead to a lot of you might think that you're doubting yourself, but in reality, you're actually maybe just scared, or you're feeling some fear of like, oh no, I'm doubting myself, or I'm telling myself this isn't going to work. But in reality, you're just scared to fail,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of people that are in entrepreneurship, whether you're at a startup company, and even like CEOs, there's we've heard stories and articles, and I know I've heard plenty of stories on other podcasts and YouTube channels of big, 7-figure, 8-figure CEOs, massive companies, and they wake up every day and they doubt that those positions are highly paid, which means you are always under the microscope. Your margin for error is so small. Board will vote you out. You'll get fired, right? And those jobs are hard to replace. You can't, if you're making millions of dollars a year as a CEO, you can't just go on Indeed, just like apply for a few jobs. You might be unemployed for months or years at a time, right? So you still have that doubt and that feel of failure, no matter where you're at in your journey.
Yeah. I blame the education system for this because from the time that we're in kindergarten all the way up through grade school, college, whatever, like from the time that you enter into school, you're always taught that it's either pass or fail,
Mm.
right? You take the test and it's pass or fail. And then you get into your corporate career. And it's again, if you screw up, you lose your job or you lose your career or something, And so it's this pass or fail mentality that leads to a lot of that fear of the unknown. But like in entrepreneurship, I feel like it's much different where, again, your successes are built on the mountains of failures. Now, granted, you can make certain mistakes and you can make certain decisions that could cost you your business, could
Mm.
cost you an investment. But it's those experiences where you learn from that you can build on that make you a better entrepreneur, better business owner, better investor, better CEO, whatever it is. And so I think that the cool thing about being an entrepreneur is it's almost like you need to have some of those failures because that's
Mhm.
how you learn, right? It's like you said, it's the real world education that where you learn some of those best lessons from. And so I've learned in the beginning I had such a hard time with the idea of failure. That was a very uh, stressful thing for me to deal with because it wasn't something
For
I was
sure.
accustomed to.
Nobody likes to lose.
Nobody likes to lose,
Nobody likes to
right?
lose the
Nobody,
reality. Yeah.
and I am very competitive.
Sure.
I hate to lose. But coming from, a corporate background and having a career and such, I was always used to being good at what I do.
Mhm.
So taking on this entrepreneurial journey, man, it was very uncomfortable. And I was always in the back of my mind thinking, man, is this the right thing to do? Like going through those trials and tribulations and really kind of just putting yourself out there. And I don't know what the right way to deal with it is. Everybody's a little bit different. For me, I guess comes back to, again, that understanding of like, what is it that's causing me this stress?
Right.
What is it that's really making me so uncomfortable and attacking that head on? But it's a real thing, man. It's tough. We've seen it get the best of people for sure.
Yeah, and again, back to that point, of it getting the best of people, because there's that saying we've all heard of different versions of it. Money can't buy happiness. It's so true, right? Because even if you're successful and you've made it past that doubt, and you've come out ahead, you're still feeling you're always under pressure no matter what, right? And whether you're a solo business owner and you're just living pretty good, or whether you're a CEO of a big company, I think what we fail to realize that a lot of people have that doubt. They're feeling that pressure. They're always feeling that feel of failure, but they're bottling it up inside, and they're packing. We're guys. This is like this is what we do, right? Men historically, typically, we don't do a good job of sharing our emotions and being vulnerable and even talking to our spouse about these things sometimes, friends, family, whatever. We just pack it up inside and bottle in, kicking the can down the road, right? Unfortunately, some people deal with that pressure and that doubt, even though they may on the outside seem successful. They have a good title, big company, nice house, nice car, whatever, in ways that are unfortunately very sad. They may have all that status and materialistic things, but be super unhappy inside and be depressed or have drug issues or have no relationship with their spouse. There's so many different ways, unfortunately, or impact that that has on your life. So this pressure and learning how to deal with it and learning how to talk to people about it so that you can feel that like talking to somebody about these things is it's like a pressure relief valve. You often realize like, oh, I'm not the only one going through it. And then two, having sometimes just saying it, it's not about getting advice. It's just like, I just need to get this off my chest. I'm feeling very stressed out. I'm feeling very pressured. Things are hard right now. Things are tough at home. We're struggling financially. Whatever the topic is, that pressure relief valve can often help you avoid going down that rabbit hole. So, what are some things maybe you've seen that some in that situation guys go through, or some ways that they deal with it, unfortunately, or positive or negative?
Well, you and I have benefited from this, and we've seen other highly successful people benefit from the same, and it's having coaches.
Yeah.
And some of the most highly successful people, you think that they're standing alone at the top by themselves, but in reality, there's a team of advisors, there's a team of coaches behind them
Mm.
to help them get through these everyday challenges. Because you're right, you can't do it all by yourself. You can't bottle it up inside, or else it will consume you, and it will lead you down this very dark path. And so for us, having coaches that were behind us that we could bounce ideas off of, bounce frustrations off of, share stories, both good and bad, about what we're going through, and listen. Like I said, sometimes it's just to be a sounding board. Other times it's the feedback that you've gotten from, hey, don't worry, I've seen this example somewhere else too. Here's how we're going to deal with it together. And it just helps you to reinsure that, number one, you're not alone.
Mm.
We talked about that last week. But number two, there's other people that have gone through what you've gone through. Even though you feel like nobody else understands, there are people that have been through what you've been through, and that can help you. And I think one of the ways of getting through that and being vulnerable enough is to ask for help. Like you just said, just putting yourself out there. And I think that's the benefit of having a coach. Is that's the job of a coach, is to help train you and guide you in the right direction, so that way you can be the best version of yourself and make the right decisions and such. And look at professional athletes, professional football, basketball players, baseball players. These guys make tens of millions of dollars a year, but they all have coaches. They all need coaching every single day. And it's the same for us as entrepreneurs. It's not a solo game. You do need those advisors and those strong leaders to help guide you, because that you're living through their experiences as well as a coach. So,
Why do we do that? Like, why do we, as men, why do we try to do it all on our own? You just made like a phenomenal point. If you're an athlete and you were sort of born an athlete, maybe you started in a sport at a young age, 4, 5, 6 years old, or you just kind of got into it in high school. You know that when you want to be the best at whatever it is you're trying to do, you're going to hire a coach who is professionally trained on how to teach you how to throw a football, how to throw a baseball, how to shoot a basket, whatever it is, right? How to run faster. But for some reason, a lot of people through life, whether it's talking about their marriage or their business or being an entrepreneur or whatever it is, we tend to try to do everything on our own. And then things don't go well, and we often forget that we had resources out there, right? There are mentorships, some paid, some free. There are shows like this, podcasts, YouTube channels, people you can listen to that have been where you're at, or maybe they have guests that have been where you're at. But there's a lot of resources today out there that kind of go back to my point about how hard it was back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. This is one of the opposite things. Right now, there's no lack of mentorship out there. Even if you don't pay somebody, if you follow somebody and you listen to their show every day or every new episode that comes out, or you're following them on TikTok or YouTube, and they are positive people with the right mindset that are generally trying to help people, then that's a mentor, whether you read it, realize it or not, or a book. Like books are probably some of the oldest form of mentors you can have. You read a book by anyone who you consider to be a mentor. It's like being in their head. right? So, but why do we as men, why do we tend to do all that stuff on our own? This is I don't even know if there's like a real logical explanation for it. It's just something we tend to do. It's just like it's like at home, like when something breaks at your house, what do you say? I'm going to fix that myself. Even though you maybe have never done electrician or plumbing, we just tend to do that as guys, and I don't know why.
I guarantee you our wives would tell us that we're stubborn.
Yeah,
But
fair.
I think it's pride and ego. Part of opening up and asking for help, sometimes you interpret it as, "Oh, I messed up," or
Or
"I made a
weakness even,
mistake,"
or even
or
weakness.
yeah, or it's a sign of weakness,
Right,
right?
right.
And I think that's the unfortunate stigma that comes along with being a man in today's society is you're supposed to be the strong. You're not supposed to show weakness. You're not supposed to show vulnerability. But I mean, why not? It doesn't make you weak just because you ask for help. And I think that's something I've had to learn because I'm a very prideful guy. I take a lot of pride, and I grew up in a household like my dad was somebody who I admired to the day he passed, but he was always Mr. Fix It, always Mr. Do It
Yep.
himself, always. And I grew up in that mentality. So I had that pride about myself. Like, I don't need anybody's help. I'll just do it myself. But I realized very, very quickly, like, that's a very lonely road to go down,
Yep.
especially when you're trying to, again, push the boundary and kind of elevate yourself to become somebody that you want to be. You cannot do it on your own, and it's something I had to swallow
Mhm.
internally.
Yep.
It wasn't easy. Thank God for my wife too, because I think she helped me with that as well. But I think it's just unfortunately, it's we as men we're just so prideful, and we think that well, if I ask for help, then people are going to interpret or look at me in a certain way, and it's just like, look, man, again, look at everybody that you and I follow that we admire that are successful entrepreneurs. They're not at it. They're not by
Right.
themselves. They got there with a team of people helping them along the way. And um, I think that's one thing that I always personally still continue to work on now is how do I how do I forget that pridefulness? How do I kind of break that barrier down so that way I can allow myself to be more receptive to help, more receptive to feedback, more receptive to ideas that, the other thing too is accepting the fact that it doesn't have to, I don't always have to be the expert
Mhm.
or the one that's, the right answer. I just have to know who the right people are to go to do that. And, that's been a fun journey for me to go through now looking back because I wasn't always that way, but now I just so I value the time that you and I get to spend talking about different things and the time that we get to spend with our coaches and other
Yep.
mentors.
It's the old who, not how model.
Exactly,
Yeah.
man. I value that time more than anything now. And I actually love the fact that now if there's something I don't understand, like, hey man, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Yep.
I need some help here,
Yep.
and so yeah.
I think that comes with maturity, though. If we have some listeners out there that are, in your teens or like imagine having this conversation with your son. You know what I mean? Love him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, your son's amazing, but it's like when you hear these types of things, you just can't digest them at a certain age.
Mhm.
I know there's books that I've read when I'm 20, and a book that I read now in my mid late 30s. The message that I get for them is it's the same book.
Totally different.
It's totally different,
Yeah.
right? So I think some of what you're saying is you had to experience the pain and go through it. And then a lot of it's just maturity, to be honest. And that maturity comes from the pain. It comes
Yeah.
from, we're talking about doubt. We're talking about fear. And this could not necessarily be entrepreneurship. It could be doubt. Did I pick the right career path? Am I climbing the right corporate ladder? Do I work at the right company? Did I marry the right woman? Did we have, is a decision to have kids or not have kids? There's so many doubts you have in your life. But going through all that and making a decision, you have to make a decision at a certain point with everything in life, and then living with the results, whether good or bad or ugly. Unfortunately, that it just comes from maturity. It just comes from living life and being experienced. Just giving advice to a 25-year-old versus giving that same advice to a 45-year-old, it just comes much differently. It gets
Yeah.
digested much differently.
It does, man. It's funny you reference my son because my son is 21, just turned 21, and he's kind of going through that. And I remember being that age, right,
Yep.
where like
Nobody can tell you anything.
nobody can tell you
I'm always
anything.
right.
You know the world. You just know everything, and you're just gonna go pave your own path. And look, I do think that's part of being young and
Yep.
wanting to grow up. And I don't know if that's a just a man thing or a dog. I'll tell you when my daughters get there.
Yeah.
Ask me in a few years, but it is an interesting dynamic because I talk to him and I see him, and I'm very proud of him. If he's listening, he's doing fantastic. But I see a lot of the same things that are the same mindsets that I had when I was that age.
Yep.
Like, I know it all, and I'm gonna take on the world. But I tell you what, man, like if I could be that age again, and me sitting in this seat today giving myself that advice,
Yep.
then holy smokes, would it be completely different? You know, man, and I appreciate the journey I've been through. Like I do appreciate all of those hard lessons because you're absolutely right. Like it has helped me mature in a lot of ways, both professionally and personally. But man, if I could tell myself like, you need to hold on, buddy. Like you need to slow down, and you
Yep.
need to experience, like you said, experience life a little bit. You need to kind of go through the process of evolving as a young adult first before you just try to go all in and take on the world, because it takes a very, very special person to do that at that age and be successful at it, right? It does. And you just don't know what you don't know in life, right? And so being in the seat now, we're nearly 40 years old and kind of going through the things that we've gone through, I'm thankful, but man, I wish I could have saved myself so much
Oh yeah.
heartache and headache along
Money
the way.
and pain and all.
Money and
Oh
pain.
yeah, all the stuff. There's a lot of lessons that must be learned the painful way, and that doubt is necessary. So to me, it's almost just like shifting your paradigm. But if you're an entrepreneur or successful person who has a great corporate career and you're dealing with that failure, that doubt, the pain that kind of comes along with it, how do you learn to shift your paradigm and actually find a way to use it as a positive thing? Find a way to let it empower you so that it's not a negative thing, because there's some phenomenal books that talk about the power of your paradigm, or like every moment in your life and every situation you go through. It's like when you're driving down the road and somebody honks at you or they flick you off, right? How do you digest that in the moment? What's your paradigm? Do you flick back? Do you honk back, right? Or are you going, man, I feel really bad for that guy. He must be having a really bad day. God bless that guy,
Mhm.
right? There's just like two different people, right? And the person who has that second paradigm lives life very differently than the first person. We've all probably been a little bit of both, right? In certain situations, but your paradigm on how you deal with doubt, how you deal with pressure, how you deal with all the things that come along with being a successful entrepreneur, CEO, or just a corporate employee, you can learn to turn that into almost like a superpower where you thrive in the high pressure situations. And you see a lot of the people that we know are like our big names, like, the Elon Musks and the Gates and the Jobs and like all these guys that are household names. These guys thrive under pressure.
Mhm.
Like they look for it. They
Mhm.
like it. And you could argue some of them have not had great lives at home, or, they're very financially well off, but they've got some other parts of their life that are not great, which we all know about and have seen. You've had like Steve Jobs passed away at a pretty early age from cancer. Who knows if that was due to all like the stress and all that, that comes with it. But uh, at the end of the day, it's like they have a different paradigm than us,
Yeah.
right? They're looking for those high pressure situations because they know facing your problems, facing the fears, facing the challenges of the world, that's where success is. It's on the other side of it.
But it's hard to break through. So, like, what are some things that worked for you to help you make that paradigm shift?
Man, it's tough. I mean, I would say reality is I still go through it on a daily basis. I'm a entrepreneur, a young father. My daughter just turned 16 months. I've been almost married a decade, so it's not like I'm 75 on the last few years reflecting, but it's just trying to find small wins throughout the day. When you're feeling those moments of doubt, whether it's in your relationship, in your decisions as an entrepreneur, your decisions at work, your decisions as a father, just trying to find small wins throughout the day. And then also, I think we as men, we almost put too much pressure on ourselves sometimes to make the right decision the first time. Like everything has so much weight to it when you're at our stage in career, when you have a family, when you have a mortgage, when you have a car payment, when you have a wife you want to keep happy. When you have people looking up to you, you have your boss at a company or your CEO, and you're literally writing the checks, right? There's a lot of weight that comes with that, right?
Yeah.
So learning to embrace that and learning to deal with it is still something I think I struggle with on a day to day basis. But there's like small habits you just try to do. Meditating in the morning, right? Those are little things to kind of reset. Finding small wins in the day, like working out early in the morning, get your mindset right. Not and then not being too hard on yourself, I would say, are like my big things. Like give yourself some grace.
Hmm.
Give
Yeah.
yourself some grace.
The takeaway point that I take from that is you're never ever going to have the right answer, and you're never going to find that one solution to that problem. Like it's an evolving challenge every single day. Like every single day that you wake up brings a new set of challenges throughout your life, and so every day you're constantly having to redefine that paradigm shift. Like how do I pull myself through this? How do we barrel through this? And there is no right answer. I think that that's the key, is not expecting that all of a sudden you're going to find that one perfect solution, and that tomorrow you're going to be a completely different man or entrepreneur. It just doesn't work that way. Every day you're growing and you're learning and you're evolving. But I do think about, because you mentioned, books. And I know you and I have both followed like Hal Elrod,
Hmm.
and I think about his Miracle Morning book, because
Yep.
it had such a huge impact on my life. I think yours as well, right? Where it's a paradigm shift about how you look at the world and such. One of Hal's big things is like being thankful every morning.
Yep.
Like what is your number one thing that you're thankful for in the morning, and at the end of the day, what are the three things that I got accomplished today that I'm thankful for? And I know that was something that was very unfamiliar with me when I first got into that habit, and I had a hard time with it, honestly and truly, because it wasn't just something that just came naturally. Like, oh, I'm thankful to be alive and breathing today.
Yeah.
I just got up and just went. But I know I carried that routine for a long time after getting consistent with it. And man, it made a world of difference for me, because, all of a sudden, like that guy flipping you off in the car, the old me would have been like, "Say, bro, you want to get out?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
rumble." Now it's like you said, like, "Oh man, I'm gonna pray for this guy. He's having a bad day,"
Yep.
or "I'm not gonna pay it no mind." Oh, I had this challenge today, and man, it was a head scratcher. I'm thankful for that challenge because I'm learning something new. And when you make that paradigm shift, when you change the way that you see certain things, and it really does impact your outlook on life in general, and it helps you manage those situations much more. It helped me, I know,
For
manage
sure.
a lot of those situations effectively, so where I no longer got frustrated when those things came along. I was like, "Oh, cool! This is another opportunity for me to grow."
Yep.
And it isn't always perfect. Every situation is a little bit bigger than the other two, so sometimes it kind of
Yep.
have to reiterate that self to you every now and then. But I know that's just one thing that helped me go through those circumstances too, is kind of changing my mindset of how I perceive things and being grateful for those opportunities. Look, entrepreneurship didn't find us. We asked to be in this seat.
Sure. It's a
We
choice.
we
We made a
asked
choice.
we asked to be in this
Yeah.
pressure cooker. So you can't be in the seat and then blame the world for your problems. You asked to be here. You have to be thankful for those opportunities. And you have to be thankful for what comes with it, which is, again, all of those opportunities to learn and grow and get out of your comfort zone. And um,
And that's a really interesting point that you make, Cody. Gratitude is arguably one of the strongest medicines that we could all have as human beings. But even doing what you're doing, and you're in healthcare, and you probably have some just crazy stories and things that you see. Even doing that daily, you can very easily still forget to be grateful,
Mhm.
right? And there's so many things that we as human beings, and especially as like Americans, we have it so good. We have so many amenities, luxuries, comforts. I mean, you pull out your phone, you press a couple buttons, and like food magically appears. I
Mhm.
mean, there's so many places in the world where they have to walk for hours and or days to get food or water, right? Still to this day, which is just insane. So it's easy to be ungrateful, and it's easy to forget to show gratitude, and it's easy to forget to say thank you at the end of every day, like being grateful, like, man, I'm really grateful that I woke up today and I'm breathing clean air.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that I have a loving wife and a loving family, daughter, son, whatever it is that you have. Is it perfect? Is everything? Is your house perfect? Is your car perfect? Are all your relationships perfect? No, but the fact that you have them is something to be grateful for, because there's a lot of people that don't have those things. I think that's just like a big lesson that I still remind myself to this day. And to your point, I'm not perfect. Like I wake up every day, try to go to the gym, try to be grateful for some stuff. My daughter's young, so sometimes chaos kind of throws me a curveball, right? But at the end of every day, when you put your head down at the pillow, just thinking about like what am I grateful for today? I think that's something that if everyone were to practice a little bit more, and sometimes even telling people too, that's something I don't do. I know I don't do a great job of. Is just randomly calling, texting, emailing showing up at somebody's door. It's just saying, "Hey, you know what? Thank you." And they're like, "For what?" "Just thank you for being you. Thank you for being a mom. Thank you for being a great uh, aunt. Thank you for being a great uncle. Thank you for being a great grandfather. Thank you for being an awesome employee. Thank you for being a great boss. I really appreciate you." Like, how many people walk around every day and say, "Today, I'm going to say thank you to one person." But I'm telling you, I still don't do this this day. But I try to be consciously aware of it. Like, let me show a little bit of gratitude to somebody today, and then let me be grateful for something that I know not everyone in the world has.
Yeah. And what happens is when you do that, not only are you showing gratitude to somebody else, which hopefully will make an impact on them, but it impacts you. It changes
Mhm.
how you view yourself and how you feel about yourself, right? It makes you feel good when you can express gratitude and be happy for the things that you have. Because you're absolutely right. Most of us, well, many of us, probably haven't experienced some traumatic, life changing event. A major circumstance in their life, whatever it is. And I hope that nobody ever does. Hope we don't wish that on anybody
Sure.
for sure. But you typically find that people, a lot of people have that show of gratitude are the people that have been kind of on the brink of
Mm,
disaster, or
absolutely.
have gone through some stuff.
Yeah, Elrod's a great point.
Hal
Almost
Elrod's a
died.
great
Should
example of
not be
that
alive, yeah.
twice. Like, so, you listen to his story and you see his story and you look back at your life and you're like, holy crap, like you really should not be complaining about anything. And you mentioned my background in healthcare. Like, there's not a day that I don't go in and out of the hospital that I don't come home thankful for being alive and being well and being able to come home to my family, because a lot of people don't. So you're absolutely right, man. I think it's not an easy practice to get into, but it just starts with one, like you said, just a simple, hey, I'm just going to show gratitude to one person today, or I'm going to send a thank you card to somebody today, or something like that. It's that kind of progress over perfection model where it's just one win a day, you stack them, and then it really changes you. And it doesn't take a lot to do that. And so I know it's been a great help to me, and it's really helped reshape who I am personally and then how I view the world.
I wanna, lead that into talking a little bit about what we're working on with the show, and one of the things we're working on, creating something that people can follow us along with when they're not watching, when they're not listening, to help get some motivation, to help, feel some gratitude, to get some, inspiration, on a weekly basis. So, we're working on something that we encourage everyone to sign up for, a newsletter that we're gonna be releasing, hopefully by the time the show comes out. So check it out, forgingbettermen.com is the website to check it out. But we're creating this newsletter called The Forge. Tell us a little bit about, what we envision that being, why we're doing it, and how we hope to, help, share stories and inspire men along the way.
Yeah, it's a way for us to just drop in some nuggets for people to digest on a weekly basis that they can take and apply to their everyday life. Some of the stories that we've shared with each other, some of the experiences that we share with others, some of our future guests that will come on and share some of their stories, and taking those lessons learned and kind of the things that have worked for us, and putting it in a way that people can go read and digest, and hopefully take some nuggets away and apply to their everyday life. And it's really about kind of building a community around people that are kind of going through some stuff like we are, like everybody is, right? So, and it's just creating that community of people like us that want to be surrounded by other people that are making big things happen, and trying to make themselves better. But understanding that that comes with being a part of a bigger community. You're not in it alone, and so that's what it's about, man. It's just like you
Love
said,
it.
just dropping in some
Love it.
some weekly nuggets for people to take and apply to their life, and hopefully have a positive impact.
I think the big word, if I had to use to describe the show, the newsletter, that what we're working on here is impact. And we talked about this when we were brainstorming. We were eating some awesome sushi. Like, hey, we should start a podcast. The goal with the podcast is how do we impact others in a positive way? With a big focus on men, of course. We've talked about the people we're talking to, but we want to have as much impact as we can. And we're not experts. We're not here preaching by any means. But I think connecting people with each other. We talked about how much benefit you and I have had in life, talking to other people, connecting with others, putting our neck out there, being uncomfortable, sticking ourselves out there and saying, "Hey, I'm kind of going through this. Anyone else still going through this?" And raising your hand. So if we can create, a community, an ecosystem, an environment where other men can feel comfortable, without being shamed, without feeling like they're being judged, trying to get 1% better. The name of it is the platform is called The Forge. It's like, because we want to forge better men. That's
Mhm.
really what this is all about. And if we can have a positive impact in a different medium, in a written content and have, guest writers on there, guest people come in and write some great content as well that can inspire people. And if we have that 1% positive impact, then it's a huge win for me.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's about, again, about building that community of like-minded individuals like us. And um, you and I have been able to benefit from being involved in certain communities, and whether it be investing, whether it be in personal life. And I know anytime that you get involved in a network of other like-minded people like you, it just really helps to propel you and elevate you to becoming bigger and better. And you learn through other people's experiences, you learn through other people's stories and such. And again, that's kind of why we're here today. And I'm thankful to be here, man. I appreciate it, and look forward to many more good conversations. So,
Absolutely. Cheers.
cheers, buddy. Appreciate you being here with us. Stay connected by joining our weekly newsletter called The Forge, delivered straight to your inbox with thoughts on business, work, family, and becoming a better man. Make sure to check out forgingbettermen.com to sign up. If this show hits home for you, then hit the follow button and leave us a review to help us reach more guys who would benefit from it. This is Under Pressure.